Hi, it's Andrew Paul Cronin. Thank you for listening to the Q&A with A.P.C. Over the past couple of years, I've talked to artists, a poet, a doctor, my two moms, an orchestra conductor, a ghost hunter, a race car driver, a professional dancer, and many, many more. If you like these stories, if you like the guests, if you like the questions, if you like the show, please consider supporting it. Go to qaapc.com/donate. Thanks.
But I was always sort of curious about Cronin. I thought he was some sort of wizard. I thought he was older than he was. I thought a lot of things, and then he comes, he's like, he's just this guy. But he does the full spectrum. He lives down the street. So here's Cronin.
This is Andrew Paul Cronin, and you're listening to the Q&A with A.P.C., the show that features conversations with artists, cultural figures, policymakers, performers, and other innovators living in Virginia. Episode 37, live at Old Dominion University. In this special unedited live episode, I host a conversation about the new film American Dreamer in a Facebook live stream event recorded April 12, 2018 at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. Written and directed by Derrick Borte, American Dreamer is the result of a partnership between Storyland Pictures, the Virginia Film Commission, and Old Dominion University. The film tells the story of a down-on-his-luck Uber driver named Cam, who is played by comedian and actor Jim Gaffigan. Cam makes extra cash driving a drug dealer around town, but when he finds himself in a serious financial bind, he makes a decision that has chilling consequences. In this film panel discussion, Derrick Borte, David Mallin, and Nate Villar give a behind-the-scenes peek into the making of American Dreamer and provide insights into how you can be part of future film projects at Old Dominion University. Hi, my name is Andrew Paul Cronin, host of the podcast The Q&A with A.P.C. Welcome to Old Dominion University's film panel discussion for Derrick Borte's film American Dreamer. On stage today we have David Mallin, assistant professor and director of the film program here at Old Dominion University, Derrick Borte, writer and director of American Dreamer, and Nate Villar, Old Dominion University film student who was part of the crew for the film. We'll be taking your questions this afternoon on Facebook Live, and we're going to start with a question for David Mallin. David, American Dreamer is a result of a partnership with Storyland Pictures, Old Dominion University, and the Virginia Film Commission. How did this partnership come about?
Well, Derrick and I have worked together on several previous projects, and I read a number of the scripts that he writes. And when he gave me the script for this film, I really loved it. I really, really loved it. And I knew it was supposed to be shot in this area, and I knew it was supposed to be shot for a reasonable budget level. And I'm a big supporter of experiential learning and having students get involved in real productions. So I pitched the idea of doing it with the university as a collaborative effort, and he responded well to it, and we made it happen.
Derrick, tell us a little bit about the plot of American Dreamer and how the idea for the script came to
you. Well, the plot, it's about a middle-aged Uber driver who's kind of had a fall from his formerly cushy life as a computer programmer, and he was downsized, had a kind of a meltdown and kind of a mental break, and ends up living in Ocean View and driving an Uber. And after reading about, I guess, a common practice of burner rides, which is drug dealers hiring Uber drivers to drive them around, based on, I guess, police not being able to search a car without probable cause. And hearing that this had happened, I decided to make him driving a drug dealer around town as a side job, trying to make extra money. And he ends up kind of at his lowest point when he can't pay child support or alimony, and gets this idea that he's going to kidnap the drug dealer's girlfriend and hold her for ransom, in hopes of solving all of his problems, which couldn't be further from what ends up happening.
Nate Villar, on the set of American Dreamer, students worked with cameras, helped with makeup, lighting, logged footage, and more. What was your role or roles on the set of the film?
During the first part of the production, I got into the location team. So pretty much we were just driving around Norfolk sometimes, looking for some great locations where you could just shoot a movie and have specific things happen. And during the later part of the film, when we got into production, I worked in the camera department mostly, which I was the second AC. So I was the guy that would call out the scene number, the take number, and pretty much just help the camera department with whatever they needed.
So the way that I understand, there was essentially, for production, it was like two classes, like almost literally two classes. So at the beginning, there was a class for pre-production where people got a copy of the script, and there was sort of like maybe table reads, and we could throw out ideas. David, can you talk a little bit about, Derrick and Nate, about how the class, that first class, was kind of structured, what students got, what they experienced in terms of credit, but also like in the classroom?
Okay. Well, we had 2 6-credit classes. They were technically internships, and Derrick taught one, and I taught the other. I'll let Derrick talk about his course, but mine was focused on the actual technology of shooting a feature film. So not all of the students had a lot of experience with the kind of cameras we were going to be using, the kind of lights we were going to be using, stuff a little bit bigger than what the students use for their own projects. So we spent the semester doing a lot of preparation for the actual production, so that when students got to set, they would actually have some skills under their belt. The other thing that my class did was shoot the second unit photography for the film, which mainly was driving shots of the car through Norfolk and Virginia Beach city streets.
So when you talk about that, you're talking about students, since they didn't necessarily have experience with the cameras or the lighting that would be on a feature film. You're in the classroom, and they're literally like hands-on with the cameras, with the lighting, like setting lights, filters, things like that?
Exactly.
Okay. Derrick, what was your experience in terms of that, like kind of pre-production?
Yeah, during prep, what I wanted the students to experience was what real prep would be like on a feature, which is basically starting with the script and learning how to break it down into all of its various components for each department, learning how to begin looking at it from a locations perspective, from a lookbook, mood board kind of perspective for art department, looking at casting, looking at wardrobe, looking at all the logistics that I have to deal with when I'm prepping a film. And over the course of that period of time, which was a few months, we kind of got to the point where each student kind of began to naturally fall into departments that seemed right for them. So that by the time we went into production, we had people that worked specifically in one department the entire time with professionals that we brought in. I brought in my production designer. A lot of the key positions were brought in from outside.
Okay.
So they got to work in these departments with actual working professionals. And then we had some that were kind of floaters that moved around from department to department. And it was really the goal was really to provide a workforce development initiative that the state is very proactive with, to try to help these kids, by the time we're finished, be in a position to actually get hired or be close to being hired. And in fact, some of them have been working and worked on other films since then. Some that haven't even graduated are already working on other features. So that was really what the goal was, to give them enough real-world experience among working professionals to be able to be on someone's speed dial for another project.
Nate, when you were presented with this opportunity, what did you think the experience would be like before you started and got on set? And now that you're on the other side of it, how is it different than maybe you originally thought before it started?
I kind of had no idea what I was going to be doing when I signed up for the class, because I've always wanted to work on a feature film. It's just kind of one of my goals that I had in life to do. And I kind of never thought that I'd have the chance to do it at, while taking film classes, even though, I mean, film classes, you're going to work on a film, but typically you're just working with other students and it's smaller classes and stuff. But after this, it definitely brought insight to what actual like set life is like, and how to like talk to and work with other professionals.
What is set life like?
I think it's different on every set, but for me, it was nice. I think it depends a lot on the people you work with. All the people were really nice. It was also kind of cold a lot of the time.
A lot of night shoots.
Yeah, that was actually pretty fun. I like doing something that's outside the box.
Derrick, Jim Gaffigan, comedian, comic, actor, plays the lead in the film. How did he find his way to the project?
How did he find it? His agent read it and loved it, and we were dealing with another actor who wanted the role, and we were trying to dance around a schedule, which is kind of the norm. And they asked if I would meet with Jim or do a call with Jim, which I did, and he really got the character. He was very passionate about the role. He said that he had to play this role, and convinced me that was real, and it just seemed like a great fit. The chemistry was right, and he really kind of lost himself in this very dark role that's unlike anything he's ever played before.
You're tuned into Facebook Live watching the Old Dominion University film panel discussion for Derrick Borte's film, American Dreamer. David, what opportunities are there for film students here on the campus of Old Dominion in Norfolk?
Well, there's actually a lot of opportunities for students, and especially film students, to get involved. Our film program offers degree track opportunities to actually come out with a degree where your major was cinema production. In addition to that, students across campus electivize some of our classes. So an engineering student might want to know how to use a video camera to do part of his research portfolio. And so some of those students take our classes. There's also a film club where the students, in a sort of extracurricular way, make movies on their own. We have Campus Movie Fest coming every year that does a sort of make a movie in a week competition, and then we try whenever we can to do the bigger projects like we did with Derrick.
If people wanted to find out, watching on Facebook, how can they find out more information about the film program at Old Dominion?
The most straightforward thing to do is to follow us on Twitter, which is @ODUFilm.
We're taking your questions live on Facebook. If you have a question, send it in, and we'll ask it to the panel here on stage. Derrick, you and David pitched the idea for this collaboration to the administration here at Old Dominion University. What was the pitch, and how was pitching an idea to a university similar or different to a pitch that you would make in Hollywood?
What was the pitch? I think the state had already gotten involved, so that was very helpful in being able to go in and say, that Andy Edmonds from the Virginia Film Commission and the governor were both supportive of this project. And part of the pitch was, I've tried to shoot multiple films here in the state, and we've lost them to other states with better tax incentives.
Right.
And now that the state, Virginia, is being so aggressive with trying to bring productions here, part of it was my enthusiasm probably that I got to shoot a film that I would potentially be able to shoot a film here at home,
Right.
which I've been, like I said, for many years I've been trying to do. And then the rest of it was just trying to figure out what we could do to make it something that a film student pretty much anywhere else in the country would not be able to get from a traditional film school, which would be an entire semester of nothing but being just eating and breathing and living on a set of a real feature film, with working alongside professionals every single day or every single night, and coming out the other side with skills that I would say are pretty much unheard of for a film student anywhere else. Skills and experience, I should say.
Sure. Nate, I would imagine this experience certainly was a great compliment to what you experienced here on the campus in the classroom. But what are some things that you learned on set that would be difficult, if not impossible, to learn in the classroom setting?
I think that I kind of learned that you have to really kind of sometimes do your own research in a lot of things, and it honestly pretty much taught me how to work with other people, like just a giant team, and how to really just work with them.
Sure. David, the next question is for you. So, for Old Dominion University and producing this film, how many films has Old Dominion University produced, and like, what's the long-term vision for these types of collaboration? Like, what's the goal? Is there a certain number per year that we want to try to do, or so? What's the end goal or the goal?
Well, we have an advanced filmmaking class that we teach every spring, and usually we do a sort of budgeted short in that class where everyone collaborates on one project for the semester. And sometimes Derrick's teaching that course this spring. And usually we knock out one project in that class, sometimes we do two. And then the larger projects, such as this feature, we're trying to do one about every other year, but there are a lot of things that have to align, right? Budgets have to align, you have to have the right script, you have to have availability of the people that you want to bring in and you want to partner with. So it's not on a formal rotation right now, but the ultimate goal is to do something like this every other year.
Is there a model elsewhere, either in the state of Virginia or across America or internationally? Is there a model that sort of we want to try to emulate?
Well, I think what's different here is the kind of apprenticeship model that ODU is going to. I went to grad school at the American Film Institute, which is very, very heavily based on production. Students in their first year, cinematography students, easily spend 100 days of their first year on set working. But the key difference is they're working on their own projects, which is great to develop your own voice, especially as a grad student.
Sure.
But as an undergrad, I think it's a very valuable experience to actually apprentice under working professionals to see the way the real world film community works. And I'm sure that probably there are other schools doing something similar, but there's no particular model from another university that I'm following.
Derrick, you and David worked together on the short film Our Nation, which was featured in PBS's annual online film festival. You worked with a crew on that film that included a number of students. What did you enjoy enough about that experience to make you want to do it again?
Well, I think that it was a different experience because I hadn't worked on we had a pretty much entirely student crew, except for maybe one or two of the keys. From what I remember, but I think it was challenging and different, and I'm happy with what we ended up with, and I enjoy the challenge of it. I enjoy the challenge of trying to accomplish a certain goal with certain obstacles, and whether that obstacle is locations or budget or working with an inexperienced crew, it's still fun and exciting to try to figure out how do we accomplish what we're hoping to, given whatever circumstances we're working under, and it was a fun project. It was really kind of an intense week of of how do we get this done? On a very tiny budget, when it's a period piece, and it just made me want to get involved more because I saw really what the students were getting out of it. I think was probably the main reason. Was I could tell that they were getting a lot out of it. They were gaining experience. They were asking me great questions, and I think that throughout my career, people have always. I've been very fortunate to have some great mentors along the way that have helped me, and I really enjoy doing that myself.
Can you talk a little bit about the balance of being on set and wanting to, get the shot and sort of keep pushing and making the shot, but also having the time to teach, to try to balance those two things?
Wow. I mean, I think that's once you're on set and you're rolling, I think that the film becomes the priority. I think there's enough downtime that there's always time for questions. There's always time to talk about things, but it has to be the appropriate time because once the meter's running and once the cameras are on and people are there, whether they're performing or what's happening. I mean, at that point, the film becomes a priority, and teaching sort of steps back a little bit.
But what I'd like to add to that is that's also the time where the students are doing that apprenticeship underneath their department heads. So Derrick, as the director, is going to be consumed with the many, many, many things that have to happen to make the film execute. But if someone's in, let's say, hair and makeup, there's going to be downtime in hair and makeup for that person to really talk with the makeup artist about how to do that craft, right? So I think that's one of the really invaluable things is having all these professionals that are just in very small groups giving students instruction. Like I'm sure Nate got a lot of instruction on how to run a camera department, and he runs our film cage now, so it's a very useful experience.
We have a question from the audience here at Old Dominion University. You are watching Old Dominion University's film panel discussion for Derrick Borte's film, American Dreamer. This question is from Lisa here in Norfolk. What is the class called to make feature films? It was mentioned. We want to make sure we get it.
So it's called feature film production. And this particular course, which was sort of a bit of a pilot, we ran it as an internship. But going forward, it's going to be a course that's in our catalog.
Okay. There's no call number yet for the course. No catalog number that we could start signing up to.
I believe it's going to be COM 493.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
It's impressive, David. You're watching Facebook Live. We're taking your questions here on American Dreamer. Nate, I have a question for you. So you have a Vimeo channel that showcases some of your work, and you've uploaded several short documentaries that feature Old Dominion University professors discussing really fascinating research studies about, for one, dementia and smart devices, and you also feature one with a professor who has earned a Fulbright Award for his research on the Arctic. How did these documentaries come about? Because it seems like it was really great, so talk about it a little bit.
I'm actually doing an internship now for the Office of Research, and basically they just want me to create these short little videos for faculty members mostly, to showcase their research and so they can connect with other researchers elsewhere, possibly get grants and stuff like that. So I just go out, kind of have a meeting with them, and then do a couple of interviews and go see if I can actually go see where they're actually doing their research and try to see if they're doing any hands-on things.
And you shoot it, you light it, you edit it, you cut it, you post it, you do from top to bottom, the whole thing?
Yep.
This is a question for all three of you. So I'm a graduate of Old Dominion University, 2002 degree in communications, minor in film studies. When I was in college and taking film classes, I began to look at movies and films in a different way, particularly being able to see how they're constructed and sort of the under the hood construction, camera angles, editing, and all those things. As filmmakers, are you able to turn off and separate yourself from seeing a film and how it's constructed and just experience it as entertainment? That's for everybody, so it doesn't.
I think I can do that. As long as it's not something that I've worked on myself. Maybe that'll change in the future. If I've worked on hundreds of films, maybe I'll just look at every film and just kind of judge it.
I think it depends on the film. I think that the best films I get lost in, and then upon, let's say, additional viewings, I start to break it down a little bit. But the best ones, I kind of just forget all of that, outside world, and get lost in the film. If they're not so good, I start to break it down as to what's the problem. Why am I thinking about that? Why am I not just involved in the movie?
David?
That's a great way to describe it. I mean, when I'm watching a movie, every now and then some wonderful lighting or something like that will catch my eye, and I'll think, oh, I need to go back to that and maybe analyze a bit of what they did. But for the most part, I want to be like any other audience member. I want to be just immersed in the film, and if I'm not, then I start to think of the technical things, but that's unfortunate, because what I really want to do is just sit back and enjoy.
Can we name a film where you just experienced it as entertainment and just got sucked into the moment and didn't analyze it? Put you on the spot a little bit.
Black Panther.
Okay.
Name a film. Most recently, I'd say Florida Project.
Nate?
Shape of Water.
All right. Good. Derrick, as a director, what specific types of guidance or advice or lessons did you want to make sure that students on American Dreamer took away from? Or is there specific things that you just definitely wanted to impart?
I think one of the biggest things is to show by example the collaborative nature of the position. I think a lot of times inexperienced or younger directors think they have to come in and really control every aspect of everything and sort of be very demonstrative with that authority. And I think a lot of the times that comes from insecurity or just not really knowing what a director does on set. And I think that, for me, I've always been of the mindset that the collaborative nature of filmmaking is what I love about it. So if I have this iron-fisted grip on my vision of something, and I don't let anybody really bring anything of their own to it, I'm either going to hit my mark or I'm going to fall short of it. Whereas if I relax that grip, surround myself with great people and empower them to do what they do best, embrace the spirit of collaboration, that's really the only way I can go beyond that. And I just think that the magic of filmmaking to me is the happy accidents and things that happen that you weren't expecting, and embracing those things to try to make a better film, and just like I said, empowering each person to kind of do what they do best and bring what they bring to the project, and then it evolves. The process is really what I enjoy is that evolution of what happens from the page to the screen, and that involves a lot of people, not just a director.
Nate, you're a junior here at Old Dominion University. What's next? What are you working on now? What's the future?
Next year, I plan on taking a few more film classes, cinematography, maybe a couple writing classes. And once I graduate, I'm looking into possibly going to some grad schools. Still figuring that out.
David, what's on the horizon for you?
Well, let's see. I just got back from a convention in Las Vegas. I was at the Broadcast Education Association presenting there. This summer, I'm leading a study abroad program to Bali, Indonesia, and we're going to be making social interest documentary films in Bali. Nate actually participated in that program last year, and then in the fall we'll be gearing up to do some more films here.
And Derrick, American Dreamer, are we done editing? Where are we with the process of the film?
I would say the picture is somewhat locked.
Okay.
And I'm supposed to go, I think, in May to finish the color and sound mix and visual effects and try to get it finished.
What, go to California, Los Angeles?
we'll see which one of the post facilities we end up working at, but most likely in Los Angeles.
This is Andrew Paul Cronin. I'm the host of the show, the podcast, The Q&A with A.P.C. This is Old Dominion University's film panel discussion on American Dreamer. We are live on Facebook taking your questions if you want to submit a question. David, how long has the film program been established at Old Dominion University?
So classes in filmmaking have been taught for quite a while, but it was really enshrined as a program with my arrival. I was hired to be the first director of the film program, and when I got here, the chair who was here at that time, who was the person I was reporting to, basically said, like, this is your thing. We brought you in to make it, so have a vision and execute. So this is my 5th year here at ODU, and I think the progress that we've made over the last 5 years has been really impressive.
Nate, if people want to see those documentaries that you have on your channel, where can people go to see those?
Vimeo.com/Nathaniel Villar, or find me on Instagram or something like that, social media.
Derrick, if people want to find out more about American Dreamers or to track the progress of the film, any information for where people can do that?
I think there'll be press releases soon, and follow me on Twitter. I'm sure I'll be the first one to say something about it.
David, can you talk a little bit about the Virginia Film Commission and sort of their role? And Derrick's question for you too. They're based out of Richmond. They've really stepped up their game over the past few years. Can you talk a little bit about how, like, the tax incentives trying to get feature-length films, short films, documentaries made here in Virginia, how that process works and where Virginia is in relation to other states?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a producer by trade, so I don't know all the ins and outs of all the tax incentives. Derrick actually probably knows more about that than I do. But what I can say is the Film Commission for a number of years was focused on bringing in some very large projects, and we got Lincoln and Turn and Loving, all wonderful things that have been shot in Virginia, but at a very high scale. It seems like there's been a recent reevaluation to look at the idea of supporting smaller projects and more of them, with the goal of training the workforce in Virginia to ramp them up so that there's work to go around, and that when a bigger production comes, that production will actually have local crew that are at the standard that they're looking to have.
This has been Old Dominion University's film panel discussion on the film American Dreamer, live from Norfolk, Virginia. Thanks so much for watching and for your questions. We'll see you next time.
This is Andrew Paul Cronin, and you've been listening to the Q&A with A.P.C. To hear archived episodes, visit QAAPC.com. For exclusive content, including upcoming shows, behind-the-scenes pictures, and more, follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at QAAPC. The executive producer of the Q&A with A.P.C. is Ben Riley. The music was arranged by Soup.